only see my presentation at this point. So if anybody has, I wish I could show the little people as well, but if anyone has a question or needs to get my attention, please do it verbally because I can only see my slides at this point. But yeah, so I'll jump into it. My name is Richie Thaxton. I'm the current chair of awards for GPSA. And today we'll be talking about how you apply for GPSA travel awards, publication awards, and exhibition awards. So if you're fresh to the idea of GPSA awards, the main idea here is that these are reimbursement-based awards funded using graduate student fees and providing a funding of last resort for students at UI Moscow. So there's three key things here, right? These are reimbursement-based awards. These aren't scholarships. We aren't just handing you a lump sum of money that you can then do with it what you want. Typically, how these work is that you will you make the purchases yourself, and then you will apply for an award and then be reimbursed based on what you actually spent. All these awards are coming from fees that all grad students are actively paying. All grad students, aside from a few exceptions, which I'll talk about. But you all are paying into this program, and this is our way to distribute those funds accordingly. And sort of the guiding philosophy of these awards is that these are a last resort for students. So we really want students to be applying for other awards and be looking at other opportunities before they come to GPSA. Just because we have a limited pool of money, we are using graduate student fees, but that is, it's a limited source, right? So we want to make sure that these awards get to the people who are in most need of them in order to complete their degree. So I'll be going through two categories of awards today. The first is the travel. We'll kind of go through how that process works. I'll stop for some questions since most people are applying for those awards. And then the last half of the presentation I'll be talking about the publishing and the newer exhibition awards. So the first question you have to ask yourself is, if you're applying for a travel award, am I eligible?
Richie, can I interrupt you real quick? You've got a little screen that says like app is sharing your screen, and you can hide that, I think. And then just because it's blocking there you go.
Thank you. That's much better.
Sorry about that.
No, perfect. Thank you. That's exactly what I need because I can't see much. Okay, so first thing is travel awards are, if you're on the Moscow campus or you're an online student, you should be eligible for a travel award. You do still have to be in good standing, so that just is a matter of your GPA. But both current full-time and part-time students are eligible. The one thing about part-time students is that you don't pay as much fees as a full-time student does. So if we're really strapped for cash in one application cycle, then we have the ability to reduce the amount of your award to lower than the 700, but I'll get into that a little bit later. When you're applying for an award, you can apply for up to $700 if your travel is domestic, somewhere in the United States. And if it's international, that goes up to $900. And then you can apply for only one travel and one publishing award per fiscal year. And so fiscal year, that way that works at UI starts from July 1st and ends on June 30th. And so you can have one travel award within that fiscal year, but after that fiscal year is up, you can apply for another travel award. And so the little exception here is that WWAMI, Boise, Idaho Falls, CDA students need to seek, they aren't paying the graduate student fees that contribute to this program, so they're not eligible to apply. Same with law students, and there's some other opportunities for them that they can seek out. Okay, so you've determined you're eligible. Now you need to determine when you actually need to apply. And so there are 6 award cycles per fiscal year. These are the deadlines: July 15th, September 15th, November 15th. I don't need to say them all, but it's every 2 months. And so you can apply for a travel award up to 2 cycles before your travel ends and 1 cycle after you return from your travel. So let's say, for example, that your travel, you were going to a conference between June 1st and June 5th. That would means you would be able to apply for a travel award starting in March and May. And then the last opportunity you would have to be reimbursed for that trip with a GPSA travel award is in July. And so it kind of weirds people out sometimes that this is a reimbursement based award, but you can apply before your trip. Essentially what happens is if you get your travel award application in early, which I highly recommend you do, you're ensured that when your travel ends, you are going to be reimbursed for the amount that you were eligible for in that application. And so you won't know the exact cost of your travel at that point, but the key is to give a very reasonable estimate based on the budget worksheet I'll show you later of how much your travel will cost. And sometimes it's a little bit more, sometimes it's a little bit less. But if you do your due diligence and you give a good estimate of how much that travel will cost, usually people are fine. Okay, so you're eligible. You know when you need to apply. Now, what do you need for your actual application? So I strongly recommend people look at the application checklists that are available on the GPSA website. We have them for both the travel award and the publishing award, as well as the exhibition award, I should say. But essentially, what the application comes down to is 5 components. There's the main Qualtrics application, the link to which is on the website. And that's just getting a bunch of information from you, not personal, but just name, email, department, college, your budget information, the information about your travel, where you're going, what dates you'll be there, that sort of thing. And then in addition to that, we'll need 4 separate documents. The first is the student cover letter. This is where you're justifying to the GPSA Awards Committee why this travel is important, why you need to go on this travel. Also mentioning that you've looked for other funding and despite your best efforts have not been able to find another way to cover the travel costs. After the student cover letter, the faculty advisor letter, essentially sort of a letter of recommendation for your travel, where the faculty says, we support so-and-so's travel to this conference for these reasons. It'll be a great benefit to their career and to their degree. And the faculty also needs to mention any other funding that they have available that can be used for this travel. And if not, it's perfectly okay for them to just say, we do not have funding available for this trip. That's why they're looking for a GPSA travel award. After that, we have the funding information, the student status document. Essentially, this document asks students to talk to their department, talk to their faculty advisor, and make it clear, one, to the department what they're planning to do, where they're planning to go, make sure the department knows what's going on. But also, a lot of times, departments can provide additional funding. And so this document helps alert the department that, okay, the student needs additional funding. Maybe they can help with that. And if not, the department just signs off and says, okay, this is what we have to go with. And then the final thing is we need evidence of participation or the proof of payment. And the form these documents take depends on when you're applying in regards to your travel. So if you're applying before your travel takes place, we mostly just need evidence of participation. So proof that you registered for a conference, something with your name on it from the conference organizers that says, yes, you've been accepted into this conference. If it's something a little less formal than a conference, say like it's a field visit or something of that sort, we need a letter or additional information from the person running that project, the person that you're going to see for your field work or you're going to be interacting with, to say that, yes, this student is going to come visit us. Now, when you're applying for an award after your travel, that's when we really need to see proof of payment. We need to see the receipts of your travel costs. That includes the conference registration, lodging, travel, that sort of thing. And that really helps us be able to make reimbursement decisions, especially because at that point, once your travel is done, we're very close to being able to give you the funds that you're requesting. So we really need to see proof that you paid the amount that you are asking for in your application. All right. So, in regards to that last point, the portion of the application people struggle with the most is the budget. And this has become even more important now because we've had a change to our reimbursement procedures. Essentially, in years past, reimbursements were handled entirely sort of by like the Dean of Students office. I believe that's the right department. But because of a lot of turnover and stuff, that responsibility is now with GPSA. So it'll be GPSA who is checking that you're going through the reimbursement form that we'll send you, and we'll be identifying if the receipts and everything match up with the amount that you're claiming, and then after verifying that information, sending that off to accounts payable. So this is all to say that in years past, especially I know for me, it wasn't, if there were sort of small discrepancies in the budget, we could maybe get away with it because we could kind of sort it out at the back end. But now we have to take a little harder of a line on this after getting some feedback from that department, from the people who look at the financial stuff. So this is going to be a bigger emphasis than it is in years past. Is the key, and so that's why I want to go through it. So the different budget line items here: registration. This does not include abstract submission, workshop costs, or typically membership fees. This is just the cost of you registering ideally as a student to attend this conference. Now, you are allowed, per U-Idaho policy, if you charge a membership fee, and by doing so, the cost of registration is less than it was than if you hadn't become a member, then you can get that reimbursed. That's okay because it's saving the college money in the long run, right? Or well, at least saving GPSA money in the long run. But otherwise, you can't apply for full registration and a membership fee on top of it. There has to be some net savings there. For transportation, most of these are pretty easy, just receipts that you need to show, airfare receipts, car rental. People, a lot of ride sharing. People typically use ride sharing a lot, going to conferences and whatnot. With those, we need to see the electronic receipt that you get with those. And a lot of what happens a lot also is that people will drive to a conference, and in that case, you can apply for mileage reimbursement. And so the amount that you're entitled to based on that mileage reimbursement is the number of miles driven for that trip to get to that destination times 0.7. For lodging, again, that's sort of a simple receipt that you need to show us at the end, something with your name on it that says I stayed for X amount of days and this is how much it cost. A lot of the times when people apply before their travel, they don't necessarily take the taxes into account. So Try to keep that in mind because it's usually like, a $30, $40 extra cost than people expected. But yes, please include those receipts. Please include the nightly rate in the detail section. For meals, we do meals solely on a per diem, based on the per diem rate. And so for this, you need to do a little bit of research on your own. You need to go to this website that we have here, the GSA, and they have a very useful website where you can type in your travel destination, and it will give you the per diem cost for that particular location for a particular set of dates. When you're on this website, it's not, and you type in your location that you're trying to visit. It's not the very first box. That's the hotel rate. It's the box, the second box down. So keep that in mind. If your per diem is like over $100 per day, unless you're traveling like Switzerland, that's probably not right. It should be like in the neighborhood of like 60, 80 maybe. And then keep in mind also that the first and last days of per diem have a lower rate than the other days of travel. So please list that out in the detail section when you fill out these budgets. And then it sounds simple, but it gets messed up a lot. So I'm just going to say it. The subtotal cost is we're just adding boxes A through D together to get that subtotal. And then we also need to list the funds you've secured from other sources. So E is the total cost of your travel that we expect. F is the other sources of funding that you've received. And then the difference between those two is what's in box G, what you're applying for GPSA for in terms of your total remaining need in order to pursue this travel. All right, hopefully that was perhaps a little quick, but are there any travel awards questions?
Yes. Hi, my name is Annie Berkey. I'm a graduate student in the English MFA program, and a whole horde of us are going to AWP, American Writers Professionals or something like that conference. And I just have two questions. One, I'm applying ahead of the conference, and the only receipt I have so far is for my plane ticket. So should I include that? And then after the award, do I send you all other receipts? Question mark?
Yes. Yeah, no, that's a good question. And so, yes, definitely send in the any receipts that you have so far to us in your application, just so we have some confirmation that those travel costs won't change. Plus, it reinforces the idea that you've bought a plane ticket, so you're going to actually go to the trying to collect some. But then after the travel is completed, we will need all your receipts in order to fully reimburse you for all your travel costs. So what will happen is when you apply and if you receive the award, I will send out an email to you with a reimbursement form with instructions. And then it's up to you at that point to remember to fill out that reimbursement form, send us all your receipts and all the receipts that form asks for. At which point we'll process it and get back to you if there's any issues, but hopefully there won't be, and then we can just send it off and get you reimbursed. Does that answer your question? I see unmuted, but I don't hear anything.
Hey, Richie, also, you're kind of in a weird, you're sharing your screen, but you're also...
I'm so sorry.
There we go. Yeah. Yeah, it was like a double video.
just down the infinite mirror sort of thing.
Very
Gotcha.
David Lynch. Yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you. All right. Are there any other questions on travel awards before I continue on here?
I have one question that's kind of related to what you were just saying.
Yeah.
Uh, so if we apply for the travel award before the actual travel, and before like we've actually paid for any of our expenses, we just have like estimated expenses listed.
Mhm.
If we do get approved for like a certain amount, do you still want us to submit the receipts afterwards, as kind of like proof, or no?
Do you mean submit the receipts? So like you've received the award, but the travel hasn't happened yet, and then you're still buying things, or
Yes, I mean like if I submit, for example, if I'm going somewhere in the summer, but I apply, like 2 cycles beforehand, get approved, do I still like after the summer, like afterwards, submit the receipts? Or is it just like a set amount that's whatever was approved beforehand?
no? So we have to see the receipts to reimburse you. So let's say you apply for an award, you calculate the budget, and you get um, you're eligible for $700 in reimbursement. That's great, but that's until your travel is completed, until we see those receipts. That's only the maximum amount you're eligible for, right? When you give us the receipts, that's when we'll sum those totals up and actually calculate how much you actually spent. So let's say you applied for 700, but all your receipts only get to $600, then we're only going to reimburse you for $600. We can't reimburse you for more than what your receipts show. So we have to see the receipts.
Okay. And kind of a follow-up question to that. Um, do you guys need like the physical copies of the receipts, or is there like an online portal to upload them to, kind of like Chrome River or something like that?
We don't have any Chrome River, but we just ask that you give us PDF copies. So there's some receipts that we expect to you to have a physical copy of. Trying to think which those are, but a lot of them are you pay online for stuff, so like the conference registration, um, uh, plane tickets, that sort of thing. So we just need you to send us those as PDFs.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for the question. And I see one in the chat. So, if travel is booked for longer than the conference we're attending, does that need to be mentioned in our cover letter? Is that a concern for GPSA? It is something concerns. It is something that will raise eyebrows at GPSA, and so that's not it's not unusual that people will go to a conference and then stay longer, but that's either you're staying longer for a particular purpose related to that travel. So you're going to a conference, but then you're staying later to meet with publishers or something. Um, that's something that we could potentially fund. But if you're going on this trip and then after the conference you're going to hang out with friends, which is totally fine. Everyone needs personal days, but we won't cover those costs. So when you apply, you would need to specifically mention that I'm only traveling for this conference from X to X dates, and then after that, I won't be traveling for business purposes. I'll be traveling for pleasure. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for the questions. It's nice to know what people are concerned about. And if there's not any more, I'll continue on to uh, publication and exhibition awards. Okay. Let's share this again. Okay. I'm gonna hide this time. All right. So the other big category of awards are the publishing and exhibition. And so a lot of these slides are going to look very similar because it's very similar in terms of eligibility. When you apply, there's just some some finer details about, how you actually like apply that we need to get into. So just like with travel, this is open to Moscow students on the Moscow campus and online. You can apply for up to one publishing award per fiscal year. Full-time, part-time students got to be in good academic standing. Big difference here is that you can apply for up to $700 per article per person. And so when you apply, exact same dates as the travel award. Every 2 months, we have a cycle coming up, a cycle deadline coming up this March 15th. For publishing awards, you can apply once you have written acceptance of your publication, and then up to one deadline following the actual publication of your article. So as an example here, if your article is published January 1st, you have to apply by the January 15th deadline. That's your last opportunity. Again, very similar here. For the publishing award, you need to fill out the Qualtrics application, which will be a little bit different. We'll be asking a little bit different information, particularly if you are applying jointly with another co-author, another student co-author. The student cover letter is you're going to talk about your application and justify why the importance of this application to your career, to U Idaho, and really dive into any funding sources that you looked at, and if you weren't able to find any, just saying that outright. Same with the faculty advisor letter. They'll talk a little bit about the publication, what it means for the field, and then mention if there's any other funding opportunities available or not. We will need to see both the article abstract and evidence of acceptance from the publisher, just to say, yes, this article has in fact been accepted, and then a little abstract so we can know sort of what the article is about. And then again, the funding information and student status document, the conversation you have with your department to let them know everyone is on the same page. And this is especially important when making a joint application. So unlike the travel awards, with publishing awards, if there are two students on the paper as co-authors, they can make a joint application. But in order for us to pay those students, that money has to be, instead of being sent to the student, has to be sent to the department, and then they have to divvy it out. And so you must secure administrative support from one of the students' departments to act as that recipient of the funds. And so, yeah, that's pretty much it for publishing award. We don't get those quite as often as travel awards. And then the last category we have are the exhibition awards. And so this is we just began these last year, and we've had already 3 applications, mostly from MFA students, which is one of the groups that we were really hoping would apply. And so we're really hoping to see more people take advantage of this opportunity. It offers sort of a counterweight to the publishing award, where a lot of the, how do I say it, science realms at the university, your output is typically a published research paper, and so we want to be able to help support students to move forward in that capacity. But for a lot of students in more creative aspects of the university, their output isn't going to be published papers. It's going to be things like exhibitions or art pieces, that sort of thing. And so last year we were communicating with students from those departments, and this is sort of what we came up with to be able to support them as well. And so I'm seeing one error here is the exhibition awards are all students are eligible for exhibition award, not just students involved in the MFA program. This is typically, we tend to get a lot of MFA students, but this award is for anyone who is, some creative piece is a critical component of their thesis and being able to complete their degree. That's what we're trying to support here. And so what's a little bit different here is that you can apply for the exhibition award up to 2 times in your final year as a student here. But the total costs of both, the total request for both applications can't exceed that $700. And so the reason we do this is that for MFA students, for example, you are working on an art project over the entirety of your last year, and that requires purchasing supplies. But you don't always know. Sometimes you need to pivot. Sometimes you need to change exactly what the piece will become. And so this provides the flexibility for those students to purchase supplies, not use the entirety of their $700, and then go on later to purchase additional supplies to help finish things up. And so we're still limiting people to $700 per fiscal year, but the amount you can claim at one time just changes. Yeah, again, this is focused mostly on material costs and is for full-time, part-time students, both in good academic standing. We have the exact same award cycles as travel and publishing awards. Again, you can apply for 2 cycles before you make a purchase of materials, and then 1 cycle after you make your purchase. And this is, again, for students finishing up a thesis project. This isn't just any creative project. This is a creative project that is directly tied to you being able to complete your degree and your thesis. And so you still need a student cover letter. You still need to explain to the committee what you're purchasing, what kind of materials you're purchasing, why you're purchasing them, and how they help you produce a piece that will contribute to your thesis. Again, need to mention the additional funding sources that you've looked into and the availability of those funds. We need a letter from the committee chair, from your committee chair, if you're in the MFA program, or faculty advisor. Again, mentioning why the importance of the piece that you're creating to your thesis and any other funding that is available. As you would guess at this point, we need a funding information student status document. And then finally, we need evidence of material use. So if you are applying before you actually purchase the materials, we need you to provide documents that kind of give us an idea of how you're going to actually use the materials. This can be like conceptual drawings, or just a written paragraph of this is what material is, this is how it's going to be incorporated into the piece I'm creating. Of course, if you complete the purchase and then apply, it's a little bit easier. You can just submit to us the actual receipts, and then we'll be fine. All right, and so one other note here that's important is the difference between domestic and international students. And I recognize that this is not an equitable situation. It is the current reality, and we're working on. This has been an active discussion over the last month of how we fix this for the future. But for the time being, if you are an international student, the award that you receive will be less than the award you applied for. And so this applies to pretty much all international students except for the ones listed at the bottom of your screen here. Essentially, this means if you apply for, say, a $700 travel award, what you'll see in your student account is something like $480 something dollars, because 30% of that $700 will be taxed and will be taken out of the award. For domestic students, the GPSA award is just something that needs to be reported on your taxes. Okay, so hopefully this clears things up about what the awards are and that you all should be applying for them. We love to see applications. We love to see what everyone is doing. Please go to the GPSA website up here. Read more about the travel awards via the checklist and via the Qualtrics application. Start filling those out. Definitely be sure to email me with questions, gpsa-travel@uidaho.edu. And then also check out our other programs that we support, including GPSA affiliated student organizations, so GSOs, as well as outstanding graduate student awards. Those are happening right now. The application window closed in January, and we're making decisions about who those students are going to be, which is very exciting. But if you're going to be with us for next year, consider applying to that as well. Yeah, and there's my email for anyone who has questions. I'll take questions right now as well. And just keep in mind that it's always better to apply early. It makes everything a little easier, especially if you have questions and you're not sure what you're doing. That is my primary role, is to answer people's questions. So with that, thank you all for listening. I'll take some more questions now. I'll stop sharing. Great. All right. Any takers? See a few people in the audience. And if not, that is totally cool.